Baba today tells us that we have become slaves, slaves of matter and slaves of Maya. And now, in this confluence age, Baba is changing us into a master. We conquer matter, we conquer Maya, and then for 2 yugas, there will be no mastery of Maya and matter. We will be the masters. Now, what do we mean when we say right now we are slaves of Maya and matter? Let's take matter first. So you see that the soul has a mind, intellect, and sanskars. But are we in complete control of the thoughts and feelings that we create? Or are we in complete control of where our buddhi concentrates? Now, if we are not in complete control, that means that we are not masters. And then what are we slaves of? So you see, first when we think about slavery of matter, then you see the first thing that we talk about in terms of matter is this body. What is this body? This body is like a bag of matter. You see, there are 5 elements out there and then 5 elements in the body. And if you compare the ratio also, the proportion of the 5 elements in the body and the proportion of 5 elements in nature, it's the same. 70% water outside, 70% water in the body. So this body is like a model of matter that you're operating with. And the first thing that we are slaves of this body. So you see that if the temperature of the body rises by 2 degrees, 1 degree, then also you feel so much discomfort. The soul feels so much discomfort. Or if there is a change in the food or water, so you see, if you don't get enough water, then you become so uncomfortable. If you don't get enough food, then you become so uncomfortable. Air is another thing. But let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about the next aspect or what comes before this, which is we are even the slaves of the sense organs of the body. Not just of the matter of the body, but even the sense organs right now rule over we, the soul. Now, if you see the taste, sometimes you see you are eating something and then thinking, I will have this for the next meal. So, you are eating something and then the thought is, I don't like this very much. Next time I'll have this. So, you are thinking about, you are a slave of the tongue. And then you feel like, I like this, I don't like this. And sometimes you're eating and then you have this thought, I don't like this. If this was there, then I would find it better. I would like it more, I would find it more tasteful. So that is being a slave of matter. Now you see, if you are a slave of your senses, if what you eat with the mouth decides how you feel or how you don't feel. So maybe sometimes you miss something, but then the other side is you eat something and you say it gave me a lot of pleasure and joy, and in Hindi we say anand hi aa gaya. So people say we experienced bliss through food. So you just think about how much we have associated our state of mind with what we eat, or even sensual pleasure. So I remember there was this one brother, and he once came and he said that he was, I think, 45 or something of age, and then he said that my wife died last year and now I have to get married. I have to get married again. And he kept using this word have to. So not want to, not need to, but have to, have to, have to. So I said, okay, so you want to get married? So he said, of course I have to get married. So I said, but why is this have to used so emphatically? So he said, you see, you have to get married, you have biological needs, and these are needs, you have to get married. So I said, how do you define a need? So he said, what kind of a strange question is this? Everybody in the world knows that it's a biological need, and then are we debating on that now? So I said, no, just because you are in the center and we think about things here. So how do you define a need? So he said, need is something you feel like having. So I said, no, that could be a desire also. So how do you define a need? So he said, I don't know. So I said, need is something which you die without. So, if you can't survive without something, that's called a need. So, the soul will leave the body if you don't have water. Yes, so the water is a need of the body. Air is a need of the body. But I have not seen anybody dying without sensual pleasure. So I said, maybe you have seen somebody. I have not seen anybody who died without, sensual pleasure. So he said, so it's not a need in that way, but so I said, that's the only kind of need there is. Everything else is desire. So, an alcoholic will say, I need alcohol. No, that's not a need. So there's a difference between having a need and having an addiction. So you see that people say that there are biological needs, but Baba says, no, all that is just, you are in the trap of matter and sensual pleasure, and that is something that started happening from the copper age. So Baba says that is also an aspect of being a slave. Now you see how much discomfort that person was in, and how much his mind was in a place of chaos because of this one thing, the slavery of matter. And then you see these days, there is one brother, and he told me that he failed the exam because there was no air conditioner in the room where he studied. So it was very hot, and he studied there, and he said that I failed the exam because there was no air conditioner. So you see that even the temperature outside messes up with your ability to study and learn. Now, we are not saying whether you need an AC or not need an AC, because you see, if you are in that state of being where you cannot focus without the temperature being a certain way, then I would recommend that if somebody is studying, you give them an AC. so that they can study well. But that's an example of slavery, because you see, we get disturbed, we get upset, we get uncomfortable with slight change in the temperature outside. And I'm not even talking about drastic change. And what if drastic changes happen? What if the temperature falls or rises by 30 degrees? What do you do then? So these are the kinds of, slavery we are into. And these days, there is this, there is this slavery of the eyes always. Eyes is the biggest one. So if you see something, then you cannot stop thinking about it. Yes, your mind is so under the sway of the eyes that you see something and you immediately think about it. In fact, you can't stop thinking about it. So whether you hear something and you cannot stop thinking about it. So do you have a choice about what you want to think and how you want to feel, despite what you hear and what you see? So if you are in a situation where what you are seeing is not very pleasant, or what you are hearing is not very pleasant, then can you have full sway over your mind and still feel peaceful and happy? So that we have to check and decide for ourselves whether we are slaves or masters. So we are slaves in many ways, and I will tell you one thing. So there was this one incident where a group of BKs had gone for seva, and where they were doing seva, close by there were people, or there were quite some shops selling meat. And then there was that whole stench, that smell there, and we had to do seva there. So that was that place was that stench was there, and then the seva was also in that same place. And then the BK said, we can't focus because we are feeling very uncomfortable with this strong stench around. So then the Didi who was in charge, she said, are you not the master of your senses? One of the senses knows also. So if you can't stop thinking about something that is, coming from the sense of the nose, then you are not still a master of the senses. And just think about what will happen at the time of destruction, and what kind of atmosphere there would be. Will there not be smell? Will there not be distasteful sights? Will there not be uncomfortable sounds? Everything would be there. And we have to be absolutely peaceful in that state. Just think about places in the world that are at war right now, where wars are going on. Just think about what their surroundings are. And wherever you are, these situations are coming today or tomorrow. And Baba says that only after that there will be that final going home. So how will we be in those situations if we are so affected by sights and sounds and smells and other stuff? And you see that these sights and sounds and smells, I always told you that there is this law that if you are into attraction, you will always also be in repulsion. So attraction and repulsion are two sides of the same coin. So when something you see attracts you, then it is natural that something that you see will repulse you also. something else will repulse you also. But if you have to, but the thing is, when we like something, when something is pleasurable, something appeals to our eyes and ears and nose, we fall into that trap. Yes. So you have sweet fragrance around, you have nice scenes around, people are giving praise to you. Then what happens? You fall into that trap, you start feeling good about it. And that is when you fall into that trap and you become vulnerable so much that you will feel bad when scenes are and sights are sounds and sounds are not your way. So the trap is never repulsion, because when you don't like something you see, then you are trying to not see it. But where do you get caught up? When you like something you see. Yes, so if you always expose yourself to these vulnerabilities, so Baba says that at this time we are complete slaves. We are complete slaves of our, and you see, there's this one sister, and she told me that she said the biggest thing about my Purusharth, the biggest hurdle in my Purusharth is I have a sister-in-law and she keeps passing comments on me. So, something or the other she would speak, and then that would spoil my mood, and for the whole day I will not be in good mood, and I can't remember Baba. So I said, you see that you have to rise above these things. If you don't rise above these things, if you keep getting caught up in what the sister-in-law is saying, or you see, people are so affected by what they see through the eyes. So whatever you watch is playing on your mind all day, and even acts are performed on the basis of that. You see betrayal on screen, and then you have these thoughts that somebody is going to betray me, and then you are creating that whole future based on what you see. So your mind, your imagination, your vision, everything is under the sway of what you see. So Baba says that we are in this place where the skin, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the tongue, the taste, they are all controlling our mind. And Baba says we need to rise above this, and rise above so much that even the 5 elements are not able to disturb us. Now you see, during COVID, what happened? During COVID, you couldn't breathe. Yes, it attacked your lungs. And I will share you my experience from COVID days. So when I caught COVID, so at night one day I couldn't breathe, and I felt like it totally stopped. So then I told myself, I am a soul, this is my body and I can breathe. And I opened the window and I just put my stuck my nose out, and I just inhaled with a lot of peace, and I was very calm, and I just started inhaling, and I did not wake anybody up, and I just did that for around 2 minutes and I could breathe. I'm telling you this episode from my own experience, and then I felt, if you think you can breathe, you can breathe. Until unless it's time to go, then you can't do anything because then that's drama. But you will at least not die out of fear. So you will die like a self-sovereign. So you will leave the body because it's time to leave, not because you were afraid or something. So this is my own experience, that even, and if you just give in to when the temperature rises, if you create this thought that my body has a lot of temperature and I'm feeling uncomfortable, So of course you're taking medicines and everything, but no, don't let that physical condition weigh on your mind. So that's very important. You have to take charge of your mind. So even if there's no water, and I don't know whether you have ever experienced what it feels to go without water, because you see, water is something that's always available. So you always, we even drink water before we are thirsty, and of course that's the way you should keep drinking water. So we don't know how thirst feels, but in one time, I was not even in Gyan, and I remember I was traveling by bus overnight somewhere, and then I left my water bottle before I took the bus, and then the bus didn't stop anywhere. And then as soon as I sat down and I figured out I didn't have water, I started feeling thirsty. And then there were other people around who were offering water, but my father had taught me that don't take water, food from anybody. So that was there, and I didn't drink water from anybody. And then in 6 hours, I felt how thirst feels. So, that day I felt how feeling thirsty feels. And at that time I was not a Raj Yogi, so I didn't even know that you could change your thoughts at that time. And I really felt that you could die without water in 6 hours. Of course, you can't physically die, but you have such weak thoughts that I felt like I'd leave the body or something. So Baba says that, there will be episodes when there'll be no water, no food, nothing available, and then the body will also go through a lot of pain and other stuff. But Baba says you have to know that you are a soul, and you have to know that you're the master of your mind and intellect, and you have to practice what? Bodilessness. So the most important practice of being Prakriti Jeet, of being a master of the master of matter, is practicing to be bodiless. So we have to always take out time and just forget the body and just feel what it feels like to be a soul, a being of light. And the more you practice this state of bodilessness, you will be able to overcome the pulls of the senses and the 5 elements of nature of the body. And you see, in the yajna, we have examples, and the biggest example is that of Dadi Janki. And Dadi Janki ji had a lot of physical issues since 80s. So, since 1980s, there were a lot of things in the body, a lot of ailments, problems, but nobody ever even got a whiff of that, because Dadi had practiced so much bodilessness that whenever the body caused trouble, she would just lay down and be bodiless and allow the pain to pass. And then she would not be hurt, or she wouldn't suffer or lose her spiritual or mental energy because of that, and she would just bounce back after that. So that is how Prakriti Jeet is. And Baba says that, is it possible to practice bodilessness while working? No. You can practice being soul conscious while working, but you cannot practice bodilessness while working. You have to practice bodilessness while sitting free. So whatever time you get free, you just forget the body and the whole world and just come to this awareness that I am only a soul, and feel that communion with Baba. And that is that is the practice you need to become Prakriti Jeet. And then you see there is the other kind of slavery that Baba talks about is Maya Jeet. And Maya, what is Maya? So you see that Maya is a very interesting concept. And for BKs, Maya is a term we use very often. But in the world, people don't know what Maya is. And you tell them Maya will trouble you, Maya will, there's this one Kanya, she was doing the course. And then I told her that you should continue with the classes. So she said that, why do you always think that I would stop? So I said, no, I don't think that you will stop, but what I'm saying is you should continue the classes. So she said, no, I will continue the classes. Why do you keep telling this to me? So I said, okay, I won't tell it to you in another time. And then after some time she stopped. And then I told her, why are you not coming to classes? So she said, this reason, that reason, I got late, it was raining, this was happening, that was happening. And then I told her, you see, this is why I kept telling you, don't stop. So she said, but how do you know beforehand? So I said, because whenever we walk on the spiritual path, there's something called Maya that comes after us. So she said, what is Maya? You didn't teach me about Maya. So I said, I wanted to. But if you tell somebody about Maya before they experience Maya, then they don't get it. And then Maya comes very stealthily and then it starts disturbing you. So what is Maya? So Maya doesn't exist in Kali Yuga. So Maya is a Sangam Yugi concept. Because you see, the 5 vices are our friends before we come to Baba. Yes, so the 5 vices are our friends when we come to Baba. So obviously we have no animosity with them and they are not our adversaries, they are not standing as opponents, we are the same team. But once you start belonging to Baba, then these very vices, they become your opponents. So whatever you liked doing now becomes an obstacle on your path to spiritual progress. Yes, in the world people love sleeping. Yes, people like a good sleep. But for a Brahmin, a good sleep is Maya. Yes, because good sleep is always around the time of 4:30, 5, yes. So that's the time you have the best sleep and then that becomes Maya. But in the world people enjoy it. So we have to get up at 3:30. So when you start getting up at 3:30 or 4, sometimes BKs get up at 4. So if you get up at 3:30 and 4, then you know that sleep. Maya can come in the form of sleep. Otherwise, you really love the sleep that you're getting at 3:30 and 4. Yes, people like that and they think that it's great fortune that you slept so well. Then you see the same desires that you never had a problem with and that you always wanted them to be fulfilled. So the desire for lust and ego, you wanted those to be fulfilled in the world. And you see that in the world people think that desires are a problem only when they are unfulfilled. Yes, but Baba tells us that desires are a problem even when they are fulfilled. So your equation with desire changes when you belong to Baba, because earlier you thought that only those desires are bad which are hard to get. and those who you achieved and those which got fulfilled, they are very good and they are a sign that God is with you. But Baba says that Maya can come in the form of desires that are fulfilled, because once a desire is fulfilled, you don't become content, you become more empty. Do you understand that? Yes, a desire is, when a desire is fulfilled, it doesn't give you contentment, it makes you more greedy. Isn't it not? Yes, and it takes you away from contentment. So now we know that we have to do everything as a role, not have desire for the result or desire for anything. You have to give in your 100%, but then you shouldn't take anything so seriously that it messes up with your happiness or messes up with your peace. If it's or it enhances your peace and happiness when you get it. So that's the thing with, so you have to stay, what Baba says, in equanimity. So equanimous in pain and pleasure, success and failure, in the face of fulfilled desires, unfulfilled desires, you are okay. So there is no concept of desire for a Raj Yogi. So we do what we need to do, we do whatever is our role as a Brahmin, but there is no desire in it. So Maya is something that bothers you once you become a Brahmin. Without being a Brahmin, these things are not a problem for you. And you see, when you're trying to be egoless, then ego is a problem. Otherwise, having the opportunity to, or the affordability to be egoistic is what people want in the world. People want to be in a position where they can afford to be egoistic. And I remember there was this one lady, and she told me something very interesting. She said, I am very fortunate. So I said, what makes you say so? So she said, I have a daughter-in-law who is very nice. So I said, okay, so what is nice about her? So she said, even if I give her a slap in front of 10 people, she will not answer back. So I said, I don't think that's very fortunate. Because what is that making you? So that's making you think about slapping her in front of 10 people. So I told her, I don't think that's a very fortunate scenario to be in, because if you have the affordability to always abuse somebody and they are not answering you back, then you don't even know what kind of a monster you are making of yourself. And you see that people think that, having the affordability to be egoistic is a very great achievement in the world. But Baba says, when you start becoming egoless, you like to be in situations where you cannot afford to be egoistic. Yes, and when Brahma Baba, after Shiv Baba made his, his avtaran happen in Brahma Baba's body, then Brahma Baba's Lokik wife, Yashoda Ma, you know what she did? She chose to be sweeping and cleaning the house that she was the master of before Shiv Baba entered Brahma Baba's life. Because she said, it's very important for me to kill that ego that I am the Malkin of this house. And I want to know that I am just a servant here. I'm a sevadhari and this is Baba's house. And you want to kill your ego. When you want to kill your ego, then you know that, whatever whatever affordability to be egoistic you have is a problem. And then you want to cultivate that humility even in situations you can afford to be egoistic, or where you want to be polite, where you can afford to be angry, you can afford to be rude. That's because many people can afford to be rude in many places, and that becomes a door for Maya. And Baba says that when you start on the spiritual journey, then you have this waves of lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, which you thought were okay, which you thought were your fortune, which you thought were a good thing to have, and now you have an adversarial relationship with them, and then you want to be in spaces and in mindsets where you don't fall into the trap of lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, and that requires great power of discernment and decision making. And how do you get that power of discernment and decision making? Only when you are in good yoga with Baba all the time. When you are in soul conscious state and in good yoga with Baba, and you remember what you want to become, then you can discern and decide. You can discern Maya and you can win over it and not fall into the trap of Maya, because Maya will put you into this pride of affordability, and Maya will also put you into this scene where you get caught up in right and wrong, and you think that being wrong with somebody who is wrong is right. And then you keep engaging in behaviors that are vicious. So then Baba says that you have to have Buddhi Yoga with Baba, discern and decide and win over Maya. And when we conquer matter and Maya in this manner, in Sangam Yoga, then for 2 yugas, Maya and matter don't control us, we have mastery over them. Okay, Om Shanti.